hey, you ready to open the bar? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. He goes, is your marriage ready to open a bar? Less than a year later, I'm divorced. Yep. All right. Welcome to the Sweat Equity Podcast. It looks a little different today because Juwan is on the slopes.
Colorado.
In Colorado, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to dive right in real quick. We want to talk about some of the harder conversations that a lot of other podcasts and a lot of people like to dance around and really don't even bring up. But we feel like our goal since day one has been to give entrepreneurs and incoming entrepreneurs the ability to really feel and see what it is like to run and own businesses, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I think we've said that since day one. So today we're going to talk about some hard conversations and subjects that, again, not everybody likes to talk about because they can be uncomfortable, but we're going to do our best to reiterate the way that we work and our values that we have and how we handle those hard conversations.
Okay.
So starting out, this has been something that a couple of people have asked about. So we're just going to get into that. And it's the friends in your business. When you own a business and you start a business, a lot of your friends, especially your unemployed friends or friends that are unhappy at their other job or at their current job, the first thing they are is, hey man, can I get a job? Can I get a job?
Yep.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to learn that. I'd love to do this. So one rule that I made a long time ago, and I have just preached to you guys for almost 5 years now, is we are not in the business of hiring our friends. And we have, quite honestly, done exactly the opposite. We have hired a lot of our friends.
Numerous times.
And it has backfired every single time, even up to this week.
Yep.
You know, so.
And you look at us every time and you go, I told you so.
So when I say we have done this, I'm really saying y'all have done this because it hasn't been me. But
you've questioned us every time too.
Yeah. It never turns out good because there automatically comes in with a sense of entitlement because it's like being the teacher's kid, you know. Yeah, maybe the bosses are going to be a little bit harder on you and expect more, but unfortunately, usually when you hire a friend, they think that they can get away with more versus they don't want to. If it were me and a friend hired me, I would work as hard as possible every single day to show them that they hired somebody that wasn't just a friend, but I'm a valuable asset to the company.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
that's rare.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we have not ran into that. We have actually had one person that we knew previously that has been with us in the entirety of the company, and she does a very good job for us, and we're happy with her. But out of the, I would say almost 10 other ones that we have hired, we've had really bad experiences with, and it has just not worked out in our favor. So one of my rules and golden rules and is really going to be implemented from now on is we are not in the business of hiring our friends. It has just bit us in the butt too
Every
many
time.
times now.
I think a loyal friend is not always necessarily a loyal employee.
No.
And it doesn't mean that our friends that we've hired have stolen or anything like that.
But they have.
But they have, not all of them, but it's, I don't know what it is, but it is an entitlement. It's very different. The people that you know out, like that are your friends that you go out with or your acquaintances that you do things with, I feel like all of them that we've hired have acted totally different once they start working with us. And I don't know if it's only the entitlement or what it is, but, and I can also say that it's not uncommon for us to maybe even subconsciously maybe make excuses for them because we know who that person is and we know that they're a good person and all that. And we know that they mean well maybe. And so maybe sometimes that stuff can even, we let it slide. I don't know. I feel like we try to be really good about that, but it no matter what, it just doesn't work.
Nope.
And you know what the worst part of hiring your friends is? Firing your friends.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can pretty much bet unless they've done something so egregious to where they actually feel sorry for putting you in the position, which again is few and far between, that they will take accountability for why they are being let go. But it always comes down to you're basically going to lose a friend and almost gain an enemy, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's not just about losing that friendship and losing an employee. You've now gained essentially an enemy and somebody that is going to badmouth you, that is going to badmouth your business, and it's just an ugly situation altogether. So I think
And you've said that from day one, if you're going to hire your friend, expect to lose them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's always blame too,
for sure.
Just recently we had to let someone go and Joanne pretty much immediately got a text that said, "Thanks for having my back."
Yeah.
And so it's like blame. It's too tough. I mean, and it sucks because your friends.
They bring that entitlement in and they think they're always going to be safe because they were hired by a friend. And that's not the case, because if your friend owns a business and they are hiring you, they're trusting you to put in the work ethic just like anybody else would. And 9 times out of 10, that rope gets burned.
Yeah.
And you feel so incredibly entitled that you don't do the job to the standard.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I mean, I've always been I'm like you. There's a rather larger business in town, and my dad is friends with this person and wanted me to work there whenever I was younger. But I've always believed in the whole thing of, I'm not here to work for a friend, because there's always going to be that, oh, they were hired because the boss and they're going to get away with everything. That's just always been in my mind.
Yeah.
And so I've never really believed or gotten into the hiring friends thing, or,
Family.
Friends or family.
Yeah.
I love y'all and I know that y'all are going to support my business. But at the same time, when I get y'all into the business and you're working in the business, again, it's only going to work out 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's also just hard to discipline somebody that's your friend.
Yes.
It's hard to have that. It's hard to separate the two.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And the same thing with, even people that we've promoted to management, like ingraining in them how much you don't want to carry on with that deep friendship with the staff.
Yeah.
Because if it ever gets to the point of having to discipline them or write them up or anything, it's incredibly hard to do.
Very much so.
Well, and there has to be some sort of real maturity level if this takes place, because the problem is, in my opinion, when you do hire a friend, they don't come in with that respect level that they would as if they were to go get a boss or a job and their boss was the president of Chase Bank and now they're a teller or they're a loan officer or something like that. And their goal is to move up and thrive in that company.
Yeah.
When they walk in and you walk in and say, "Hey, this is Kristen. This is the president of our bank," or "This is the owner of Seared."
Yep.
"Oh, hey, how are you?" You automatically demand that respect as that owner because you've built a successful business and you're hiring them in. When you hire a friend and it's someone that you went out and had beers with, or, maybe even worked out with, or whatever it is, the joking, the playing around, that kind of
Carries over.
and they don't carry that sense of respect that has taken you to build that business and be able to offer them a job in the first place.
Yeah.
And so I have hired, since we opened Mad Hatter, I've hired a couple of friends, yes. And they were actually, some of them were like Jawan. He helped me open the bar. But I will say this, when I hired Jawan and I really weren't friends.
Yeah.
We had not really hung out. We were acquaintances. And a lot of things, like we'll go back to that other episode where I told you Teach. He said, "These aren't my friends. These are my acquaintances."
Yeah.
And so when I hired, I'll just say his name, Shelby, I flat out told him he had never had any experience in the bar business, but he was hard up. He needed some money, and he was a good person.
Yeah.
Shelby's a good person. He's a very genuine, I thought, loyal friend, but I specifically pulled him out front and I said, "Shelby, I am going against every single thing that I believe in if I hire you." I said, "But because of the person you are, I do believe that you'll do a good job for me, and I'm going to go ahead and hire you. I'm going to teach you how to bartend, and I'm going to give you shifts, and we're going to get you set up to where you can make a living. And I specifically told him, but if you make me fire you for some dumb reason, stealing from me, being drunk on the job, giving things away, which is still stealing, I said, if you make me fire you for some dumb reason, that will affect our friendship.
Absolutely.
And
What happened?
months later,
Yeah.
it came down to that. And
Yeah.
now I'm the bad guy.
Yep.
I'm the POS.
We always
Yeah.
are.
I'm the guy that, didn't care enough and the bad guy for having to fire him.
Yep.
And I specifically told him, and he was fired for multiple of those reasons.
Yeah.
And it just came down to, I have to protect my business before I can protect you, or I won't have a bit, especially in those 2 months, because of two friends that had been hired for next door, Matt Hatter. I had lost over almost $40,000 in 2 months
Yep.
because of them drinking on the job, giving stuff away, and blatantly stealing from me.
Yeah.
Yep.
The month that I hired them or fired them, the very next month we went from $31,000 to we added over $20,000 in revenue right back to where we were before I hired them.
And that hurts.
It becomes
hurts.
a personal
It's betrayal.
thing.
Yeah.
It's a personal thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going back to you saying, you were the bad person and everything. And that's what really hurts, because it seems to be like when you hire your friends and you have to part ways with them, they're the first ones to badmouth you to other people.
So
And,
fast.
and then they all get together because all the ones that were let go for violating policies are now in this club bad-mouthing you.
Yep.
And it's the people that you least ever expected. And I'm sure they least expected that they would get fired from us. But there's only so long that we can let you get away with stuff or whatever. And I mean, we've got to treat everybody the same. But
I joke around and I
Policy,
tell
policy.
people that I have a clubhouse of haters. Like they have a whole clubhouse somewhere. They have meetings. They have drinks over hating on me. But you know what? Every single one of them are ex-employees. And every single one of them got fired for buying and selling drugs in a bar, stealing from me, being drunk on their shifts, being outright blatantly a bad employee is the best way I can put it at that point. I'm not going to go into details on everything, but every single one of them were parted ways with because of those reasons.
Yeah.
And like
Their
you
own
said,
faults.
whereas they weren't even really friends before, now they have this natural hate for me
Club.
when they fired themselves. And I've always said this, you give people enough rope and they'll hang themselves.
Yep.
And this is those situations, some of those that we've been in, we've wondered, man, what do we do? Like, this is really tough because they're our friend. How do we have that conversation? And what I've always said is give them enough rope, they'll hang themselves.
Yeah.
And they've done it every single time.
They have.
So,
They have. And that's the thing. I don't think people realize how hard it is for us. I mean, we literally sit down and have these tough conversations. There have been tears. It's hard to let people go.
Correct.
But
not
again,
just
this
us
is our
people.
business. This is our future. This is our kids' future.
Yep.
well, and one of those things that I think that you guys have learned and have continued to learn is when I first opened Mad Hatter, I was very good friends with the majority of the people that I hired. These were people that cared about me. These were people that cared about my business, and they would come in and, we were young. I opened a bar. We drank. We had a good time. We drank behind the bar, this, that, and the other. It was all fun and games. It wasn't really being run like a proper business. And I'm man enough to admit that. But over time, when I stepped out from behind the bar and actually had to manage the business and run the business and make those hard decisions, that is where I had to realize that I needed to separate myself from friendships with my employees. I could no longer have that tight-knit friendship with my employees, which you especially have learned because you've been the I don't want to say good cop, bad cop, but KP has been the person that when the employees get disciplined or they're in trouble, they run to KP because she would lead with her heart, which that is one thing that we talked about in our New Year's New Year's episode is how you have really gotten away from that and how much stress it has relieved you from making business decisions emotionally.
Right.
And so one thing that I've really tried to preach to them is to get away from being tight knit with your employees. You can care about them. You can know their husband or wife's name. You can know their kid's name and ask about them. And it's okay to care about your employees. But once you emotionally get invested into them, at that point, you would almost call them a friend.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe you didn't hire a friend. Now you have a friend and an employee. And that is one of those hard lines to draw when they get very blurred easy. And it's like sleeping with employees. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're their boss or their owner. Right then, you have created a very blurry line.
Yeah.
And so it's just really hard to maintain a very tight-knit personal relationship with employees, which you guys have done a really, really great job of getting away from that and being their boss and running a business versus being their boss and also being their friend.
Yep.
So I hope you guys
Amen.
have now seen the difference between and how hard it can be on one side of it. Whereas like the decision we had to make the other day, yes, Jawan was really good friends with this person at one point, but to us, it was business. 100% it was a business decision.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what we always try to lead with. We look at our numbers, we look at our analytics, we look at performance, we look at whether they care about us or not anymore, and base our decisions on that. And of course, we've given them chances.
Yeah.
Sit down, we talk to them, we see if they're unhappy. If they are, why are they unhappy? Is it something we've done? Is it something, because we want to run a professional, fun environment business.
Yep.
But long story being short in that, don't hire your friends. It is an absolute messy situation to get into
And if you're going to hire your friend, you better be prepared to fire a friend.
Yeah.
and lose a friend.
Yep. And lose
Yep.
a friend for sure.
So another hard topic a lot of entrepreneurs don't want to necessarily talk about because there's no shame to it, but lawsuits. They happen in business
Yeah.
and they are ugly. And of course, sometimes there are instances where you just can't talk about them.
Yep.
You know, like right now we're in the middle of being sued for $1 million. But we can't necessarily go into the details of that because the case is ongoing and it has been for over a year and a half. We know that we did right on our part, but it doesn't necessarily mean that lawsuit's going to go our way because we did right. And it all comes down to the insurance company. It comes to the lawyers, things like that. Sometimes it is easier just for them to settle. And, you know, us being on our call the other day when I told her, I don't want to settle because I know we didn't do anything wrong. Unfortunately, it doesn't always just work out
Yeah.
like that.
Because you're like, that feels like we're admitting to being in the wrong.
Absolutely.
And, you know, with her advice, there's no video.
Yeah.
So we feel very strongly that we've done nothing wrong. But if you don't have pure proof,
Yeah.
which is the video, then you're kind of screwed. But yeah, lawsuits suck, man. Talk about the stress of it. And, you know, I've been in the business world for a long time, you know, corporate and everything. And I mean, Cook Children's has a gazillion lawsuits going on at all times. And my side of it was more the marketing, the PR side of it, dealing with the news media and them asking all the questions. But you could always say we can't talk about it because you legit can. But when we first got into this lawsuit, it was, in my mind, almost sheer panic because I'd never been on that side of a thing. And you think, and it's hard to not think of like the worst case scenario, you know, and even the worst case scenario is not awful.
Yeah,
you
it's not
know,
like we're shutting down.
yeah, it's not like we're going to shut down or anything, but it's hard not to think just because I like to say that I break the rules, but the rules I break are very, you know, it's a yellow light, speed up. You know, it's not like really bad breaking the rules, but I'm a pretty big rule follower. So then when you get a lawsuit for something, it's just a kind of a punch in the gut. And then, I mean, until we sat down that one time, you came in and you sat down and preached to us about, not making this our lives and not, we don't even need to give it the time of day because God's got us.
Right.
And I've really had that mentality about it, and every once in a while we'll get an email with an update that doesn't make sense, or maybe it's a little bit bad news and stuff. But I think for the most part, just really, really knowing that we know that God has our back. We know that we're going to get through this. But we also know that we are not in the wrong, and we know that our staff was not in the wrong.
Yep.
This is, to put it bluntly, a shitty situation where we know that we're in a world of lawsuits, that people are sue happy, and we are being sued because we are the ones that have the money in it. The two people or the one person that was a part of it that really should be sued does not have anything for this person.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a crappy situation. But I mean, lawsuits happen
All the time in business.
I think, there was another one.
Yeah. We can talk about that one.
Yeah.
I will say one time I had a business guy, a very successful business guy, and he told me, he's like, don't ever talk to me unless you've been sued for over $1 million. You're not a real business person unless you've been sued for over $1 million at least once.
Well, now you can talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, what? That's crazy. And now I'm like, hey, can we talk? I'm there. I'm being sued for $1 million.
Yeah.
Another lawsuit that I came across involved Bailey and Jawan, actually, both my business partners. Before they were my business partners, they were also long-term employees of mine at Mad Hatter. And y'all know the little warning deal before a UFC fight or a big boxing match or something. It says, warning, if this is to be, reshown, you can be sued for blah, 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 copyright, this, that, and the other. Well, turns out that is true.
It is very
and there's a whole team of people
It's a very
that actually
expensive true.
look for that.
Yeah,
And
it
one evening, now I will say again, this wasn't a blatant theft or pirate situation.
It was a knowledge
We
situation.
purchased
It was lack
they did
of
not know.
knowledge.
Yeah, it was lack of knowledge.
It was 100%. And it was purchased on Juwan's
personal.
Netflix or something like that. We put it on one singular TV. We didn't even get sound. I mean, we thought we did all the right things.
Yeah.
It was a UFC fight is what it was.
And so we showed it, and you do anything to build business and to get people in. So obviously we're going to do that.
Yeah.
We had no inclination that it was going to lead to this.
Yeah. I think the general public doesn't know.
I don't think so.
I can't tell you.
didn't know.
Exactly. So if you use your personal Netflix, ESPN Plus, pay-per-view, anything like that, Spotify, any of it, if you're using it personal in a commercial space, you're showing it to more than one person or more than your household, that is illegal if you haven't paid for the commercial one.
Yep.
So like UFC fights, like if we purchased them at Rabbit Hole, for instance, they were always about $2,500. And so what you'll see is there's tons of businesses that do this, like just exactly, or when they were having the Love Island watch parties.
Yeah.
You're telling me that all these businesses got the commercial license to show that on Peacock, Paramount, whatever streaming service it was? Yeah. Absolutely not.
None.
And when I see all these bars around us, like, advertising stuff that's on Netflix and all that stuff, I'm like, I know that y'all don't
That's
have.
your account.
Yeah. But yes, they have people that go around and will legit go into the bars and take pictures of you showing it. And
that's what happened.
And they research your Facebook.
Yeah.
They research
They
your
look at-
employees'
yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah,
They look
exactly.
at all kinds of things.
Yeah.
They called me and they said, well, Mr. Jordan, if you didn't know anything about it, I see a Facebook post that on your Facebook from that date that said, and yes, Bailey will be wearing her red yoga pants.
Yes, I will.
So you knew it was a real post at that point.
So, and I said,
Red or
well,
blue, baby.
let me tell you this. I said, at that point, I was in a very serious, committed relationship. So for 2 reasons, I would never comment on an employee like that as a single person, as a business owner, or as somebody that was engaged at the time, would I comment on another female's pants. That's just not who I am. Was it written on Facebook and maybe I shared that post? That's probably what you're seeing.
Yep.
And so, but it was something that did not help my case.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I will say, I won't go into all the details of it, but yes, I was sued for $50,000 for showing
$50,000.
for showing the Conor McGregor fight. But again, like Bailey said, They had purchased the ESPN app, and then they bought the fight that night as well. So not only were they paying the monthly subscription for ESPN Plus,
Yep.
they bought the $90 fight on the one TV. They thought they were doing the right thing. But you have to go through an actual commercial streaming service to do that. I'm not going to plug them because they sued me. But you actually have to reach out and buy this, and it's done per occupancy and how many cable boxes you have. And so I was sued for $50,000. I went back and forth with them. I settled. Basically, I offered them their lawyer fees and double the price of the fight. So my lawyer, it cost me $5,000. Everything said and done, it was about $13,000 I spent on that fight. So,
and it sucks so bad because they're a promotions company that we have monthly subscriptions with, and like including the NFL Sunday Ticket. And so for the general public that doesn't know, if we're showing every NFL fight, that's not NFL game. It's not cheap.
No.
I mean, we spend over $10,000.
It's
to say our cable bills are $4,000 a month.
Yeah. 6 months in a row.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think the general public doesn't really realize that. Like when they come in and they say, well, it's on ESPN Plus, I have the app, I'll just log in. And we're like, no, we can't do that. And I think sometimes they get a little frustrated, but we don't want to get sued again.
No, it's no fun, but you live and learn.
Yep.
So
it's part of the business.
We were able to settle that
definitely
lawsuit.
learned.
I thought it was pretty ridiculous anyway. And the fact that we do business with them across all of our businesses was also in my favor. The fact that I threatened to never do business with them again. You can either take this money that I'm offering you, or you can sue me for the larger amount and lose my business forever. So they chose to take the lawyer fees and double the fight, and we were able to settle. So that ended as good as it possibly could have, I guess. So, but again, I guess you're not a businessman or businesswoman if you've never been sued for $1 million. So congratulations to all of us.
We made it.
We have been sued for over $1 million now. And at one point, both of those lawsuits were going on at the same time. So you talk about
Double whammy.
something that can weigh on you. Again, it wasn't anything that I gave much life to. And we just prayed about it and gave it to God and moved on with our life. Again, I still don't think about that other lawsuit on any sort of daily basis. So it is a part of the business, and a lot of people don't understand that. I have a standing rule. It's kind of a joke, but I have a standing rule in all of the bars. If we have an employee that is on a ladder trying to hang something, trying to change a TV, anything of the sort, I tell them they're fired before they hit the floor because, I don't want to be sued. In one instance, I'll just give this quick story, but people don't think, especially in a bar restaurant industry, they don't think about the consequences and the repercussions of their actions sometimes. So again, if you've ever seen, we'll put a video clip in here just so you can see what we're talking about. Mad Hatter's walls are covered in dollar bills. So Oscar, get a little video and put that in here. It's covered in dollar bills. Almost every inch of Mad Hatter Fort Worth is covered in dollar bills that people have come in, written their names on or funny things on, and we staple them to the wall, and it lets them be a part of the bar forever. Well, I always told my employees, never, ever, ever let anybody put a dollar bill on the wall that they cannot reach by themselves. Do not ever let me look in on camera and see them stepping on bar stools, stepping on bar seats, on the bar top, any of that stuff, balancing, trying to staple a dollar bill. I told them flat out, if I ever see a patron on a bar stool trying to hang a dollar bill, whoever is working does not have a job anymore. Because it is such a liability. And they're like, no, it's not a big deal. I'm like,
yes, it is.
I don't care if y'all are best friends. If they fall off that bar stool and they break their arm, they split their head open, they're going to sue me. 100%. I don't care who it is. They're going to want to get their bills paid for, and they're going to sue me. Don't care who it is. So one instance, I look up and a certain ex-fiance of mine has a friend in there, and I look over, had my back to them, and I look over and her friend's boyfriend is on one of the round swivel chairs.
Oh, no, that's
one of the ones that spin all the way around. One of the round bar stools.
Why did we
I freaked out. Get off there. What are you doing? And then I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, because you
They got mad at me and left. And she got mad at me for yelling at them. And I'm like, y'all can be mad at me all you want, But if he would have fallen off of that bar stool, probably would have put me out of business.
Yeah.
You would have sued my pants off.
Yep.
You would have sued me for everything you could have had, because it's not whether or not you go, oh, I just want to sue him for this. The lawyer wants to get as much money as they possibly can, and they're going to come at me for negligence on all accounts.
Yeah. And I mean, if they fell and hit their head and went to see Jesus, it'd be real bad.
Real
Oh
bad.
my gosh.
Real bad. And so
You just never know.
the accountability has
that
to be
doesn't
high whenever you're looking at running a business and thinking, you have to think about what's the worst case scenario.
Yep.
And that is just, unfortunately, some of it that we have to deal with is lawsuits. So,
For sure.
yeah. So moving on to the next one is another one I guess I can speak on, but we'll let you guys as well, is divorces. You know, when I first opened Mad Hatter Fort Worth, I was married. And Glenn, which is now our landlord, he owns Pogue Mahone's next door to us. He's bar owner as well. He had been in business for over a decade at that point, and we were getting ready to open the bar. And he asked me one day, very strange question. I didn't get it at the time, but I do now. He asked me, hey, you ready to open the bar? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. He goes, is your marriage ready to open a bar? And yeah, of course. Yeah, sure. She's on board with it.
Strong as ever.
On board with it.
Yep.
Less than a year later, I'm divorced.
Yeah.
You know, and not because of any infidelity or anything like that, but being a business owner, especially a bar owner, especially a new bar owner.
Yeah.
Now we're seasoned. We have multiple bars, so we're not working behind the bar
Yep.
every night and things like that. But at that time, I was working every night behind the bar. I had to be there almost open to close every single day, neglecting a relationship to make this business work. Because at that point, I had put all my chips in one basket, you know, all my eggs in one basket, however you want to say that analogy. I was all in.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit to you two about how y'all manage your work and home life, because you're married, you're engaged, you've got a 6-year-old,
Yep.
6,
Yep.
and you've got a one on the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if y'all want to talk a little bit about what it's like to, how y'all have balanced that out
Yeah.
to make sure that your marriage is successful. And again, we've said it 100 times. Chris and Nick are amazing men.
Yeah.
They're incredibly supportive,
Yes.
but it's not always easy.
It's not. I think the biggest thing for me is I'm just at a different spot in my life. You know, I mean, when you and Mandy were together, y'all were a lot younger. You were a business owner by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the big thing. There's 4 of us, you know, and so I think it's just a totally different situation. Nick and I didn't even get married until I was 36 years old.
Yep.
Had a baby at 38, and you're just, you know, a lot more mature at that time. I'd been through so many different things with, you know, past careers and stuff like that, that coming into this business, I just felt like maybe I was a little more prepared for, you know, because I was just more mature. Not saying that you weren't mature, but the decisions that you made when in your 20s are obviously a lot different than you make now.
For sure.
You know, and again, being alone. We have 4 of us. So if it has never gotten to this point, but if it ever got to the point where my relationship was at a point where we thought, okay, this is a little rocky, I need to start nurturing this more, I could come to y'all and say, I need to spend less time here. I need to be there. And y'all would be like, go.
Sure.
You know, and I think that's the biggest
thing.
difference, you know, when there's 4 of you, that time thing, because that's what really hurt you and Mandy. You were at a stress situation and your time.
Yeah.
Well,
You
and
know?
she was a full-time restaurant manager, which almost demands as many hours as a bar owner.
100%. 2
you're
very
tired.
stressful jobs,
Very.
careers. Yeah. I remember one of the parties, I can't even remember what it was, but it was a busy day. And I remember looking around for you and I couldn't find you. And then I saw you on the side over here, just kind of sitting there. I walked around and you're like, I just don't know if I can do it anymore.
Yeah.
Because you were just you were done. You were at a point of defeat. And I don't even remember if it was necessarily about your marriage, but I just think everything was just all within, and you just get to the point where it just boils over.
Yeah.
But I think having partners that are going through the same thing, whether it be a lawsuit, whether it be issues with your marriage that you can talk through with them, helps so much.
Yeah.
Well, and you have to have a very strong, healthy, trusting relationship
much so.
because
Yep.
y'all spend as much time with Juwan and I as y'all do your husbands and fiancés sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so if you don't have somebody that is confident in themselves
Yeah.
and in the relationship, jealousy creeps in.
Oh,
Yep.
100%.
You know,
Absolutely.
and that can be a deal breaker. That can kill a relationship faster than anything.
100%. I mean, I feel like you and Juwan are like my brothers. And like, if I have, if there's something like, how like if there's something really good that happens to you, you have your people you call.
Yeah,
I call my mom.
absolutely.
I tell Nick. And then I usually call Juwan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's just like one of my best friends that I just talk to about stuff. And it's like to know that Nick respects that and knows that there's nothing ever, it's just trust. It's
Yeah,
so big.
absolutely.
I know.
It's such a big deal.
People say, "Hey, Chris," and I'm like, "Hold on, which one of my Chris's?"
Yeah. Well, and what's crazy is I'll be out in public and people think you and Nick look alike. I don't see it at all, but they get mistaken for each other all the time. And I also have to wonder what they think in their minds. Like,
Seriously.
do they think that I'm like with Chris all the time? And like, are they like, why is she at the movies with Chris? Why is she at dinner with Chris? Why is she all these places with Chris? Well, it's actually Nick, but
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Whenever my hair was more blonde and I had extensions, people would come in and say, "Oh, I just saw your husband or your whatever fiance just boom boom by here," and I'm like,
Chris,
sometimes I was so exhausted
She
that I
would
was
just
just
go
like,
because they thought you were
I saw
Kai.
him too.
They thought you were Kylie.
I can't
That's
same.
so funny.
I mean,
Oh my gosh.
I had people
Some
that
days
would
it's just-
mistake Kylie and Bailey all the time.
That's so funny.
Yes.
Because we also spent so
you
much
spend so
time,
much time together.
all
and,
the time.
Yeah.
You know, I always joke. I say, you girls are like, we could be in a $25 a night motel with a vibrating bed for a quarter and nothing would happen.
Nope.
We would sleep in the same bed because neither of us sleeping on the floor, but nothing would happen
Yay.
because we literally were like, brothers, sisters, play cousins, whatever you want to call
Yes.
it. And,
Absolutely.
also we have obviously such a long history. I think if anything was going to happen, it would have happened way back then anyway.
10,
Yeah.
20
But
years ago.
nonetheless, it's one of those things that with Nick and Chris,
have that
Juwan and I have so much respect for
Yeah.
them, and
Yes.
we are friends as well. So
Yes.
it's not like they know us, they know our intentions, they know that we also prioritize their wife and their fiance's happiness and health.
Yeah.
And if anything, a mature man can appreciate that.
Yeah.
That they have other people that really care and love their
Right.
wife
Huge.
and fiance to the point where they're willing to sacrifice some of their happiness and time at times to make sure that their relationship is nurtured.
Yeah.
And so
I think like earlier when I said like Juwan is somebody that I call when there's good news, obviously I feel like you're the person that I call when I'm upset.
Yeah.
Because and that kind of sucks for you now that I think about it, but Chris has this way of just talking me through things, and I think that Nick sees that, and Nick sees how much you ground me sometimes and calm me down in those situations, that he has so much respect for you for that, because it's sometimes when I'm worked up about stuff, it's a big worked up, but it literally just needs to be a little conversation, and sometimes that's you over Nick, that's just what we all have people in our lives for different reasons.
absolutely. And Nick has so many incredible assets that he brings to, and when I say that, I mean in his personality, his worth ethic. It's not that he's lacking that, but in a bar industry, in the line of work that we're in, we're able to understand each other.
Yeah.
And honestly, we have over 2 decades of friendship.
Yeah.
So we are able to, and I've told you this before, we have a way to be able to talk, like you said, talk each other down, talk to one another respectfully, calmly, and give each other really, really great advice that we know that we need to hear. It's kind of like an unspoken bond that we have, that Bailey and I have.
Right, yep.
I've really been able to, over the years, Bailey was an employee for me. I didn't get to know Bailey. I didn't work side by side with Bailey.
You kept it
I
very
didn't
separate.
know her like I knew Juwan, or like I know you, obviously, or like I got to know, Dee and Juwan. when Bailey came on, it was a different situation. She was single and mingling and, having a great time, but she was one that stuck with me through COVID and was always very loyal, always loyal to the bar and loyal to me. And that spoke a lot. And so when I decided to open up Rabbit Hole, it was one of those things that it wasn't me offering a friend a bar position. It was me offering our ownership. It was me offering somebody that deserved it.
Right. Yeah.
Because at that point, Bailey and I don't even know if you would call us friends.
No.
We were acquaintances that had a mutual respect for one another.
And for the business.
And the more that I got to know Bailey and the more time that we got to spend together, especially when she started 7 a.m.s at Rabbit Hole, then we saw each other more and we really realized how good we were together. And I don't mean that on a romantic level, obviously, but on a business level, how we can work together and work side by side. And she was willing to learn.
Yeah.
She was a sponge because like we've talked about, there were times where she wanted to give up. She didn't want to be a part of it. She thought she didn't see in her what I saw in her.
Right.
Or what we saw in her.
What we did. Yeah.
And I refused to give up on her and I refused to let herself give up on her give up on herself, should I say. And then again, it goes right back into it. She had an amazing partner in Chris that would continue to push her, to guide her, and encourage her to be the best person she could be. And it was one of those things I just knew. I told Bailey this so many times before she actually went to the 7 a.m. shift. I'm like, Bailey, I need you to be a day walker. I need you to work during the day. I don't need you to be nocturnal. I'm telling you, this is going to be the best version of you. Just try it. Try it. And then we literally, no pun intended, got a night and day version of Bailey.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And,
100%.
Just even sitting out here talking to Matt before the podcast.
Yeah.
He was sitting there and said, Chris, I cannot believe. He said, you have such amazing owners. He goes, I love seeing what you guys do in there. Those girls are here every morning. They're working every single day. I had no idea that you ran your business like that. Having meetings every single day. He said, Chris, that's what these guys need to be doing. And I just said that I have such an amazing team, and we've learned how important it is to put systems in place. Go back to the other episode. Systems in place. But that does come off a little bit of the divorce and relationships, but it really does all tie back into your home life, who you're going home with, because we can kind of go right into the next hard topic, and that is addiction. Before Bailey had this incredible relationship, before you had the incredible relationship, and even before I got in a relationship, we all drank a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to call ourselves addicts. There were months, 8, 9, 10 months where I would just have to quit because I wanted to know that the alcohol didn't have the best of me.
Yeah.
But it did run our lives for years.
Oh yeah. It was I was a big social drinker. I honestly don't even really care to be drunk. I don't like that feeling. I've never liked that feeling.
Yeah.
But what I did enjoy was going out and seeing my friends and being social and just leaving the bar in a better mood than you got there, et cetera. And it becomes something that becomes part of your daily life, and you don't really realize how it may be affecting you in more ways than it should.
Yeah.
And I see it all the time now, like people that are dealing with anxiety or, heart palpitations or anything like that. And then you start drinking because it makes you feel better. It makes that anxiety calm. But what they don't really think about is the next day, how awful it is, because it makes it worse the next day.
Oh, the guilties.
But I mean, I don't think that I would ever say that I was ever an addict, but I definitely was addicted going out and seeing my friends and being social with them and everything. And I think now I drink maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks. I just don't even really enjoy it that much.
But it was always easy for that, if I remember correctly, vodka Red Bull.
Oh yeah,
for you,
100%.
Which is horrible for your anxiety.
It's terrible.
But
I still love that drink, unfortunately.
But it's easy for one vodka Red Bull to turn into 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Yeah.
After a course of 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah. 100%. Because you're having fun, you're playing pool, you're chilling with your friends. And I was single for so long.
Yeah.
And that was my thing. I, had success in my career. I owned my own home. But I was still single.
Yeah.
And when I lived in my own home alone and I was in Burleson, what do you do if you get home at 5 o'clock? What am I doing every night? Like, you just get bored. Am I going to sit on the couch and loaf around? Am I going to, there's only so much lawn work you can do. You can work out, but like, I just got bored.
Yeah.
I was flat out bored. So like, I think that probably 4 days a week out of the 5, I probably stopped at Woody's on the way home from work,
Yeah.
which was not on the way home, by the way.
But you made it that way.
So yeah, I made it that way. But yeah, I think that, yeah, it's definitely a thing that you have to watch in bar ownership.
Yeah. I mean, going back to, sorry, I haven't talked in a while, so I haven't been able to hop in there. But I had a lot of growth throughout the whole business thing. So whenever Chris Pritchard and I started dating, we was honestly for about a year, probably two years before we opened Rabbit Hole. So him and I were also growing together and learning each other. And also, it takes me a really, really long time to be vulnerable to anybody in my life. And so I had a lot of growth emotionally along with business. So Chris stayed by my side and saw my growth through all of it. So that really helped our relationship going into the business side of things. So he knows what to expect. He knows my crazy. He knows whenever he needs to, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just go on Git because you're crazy. Yeah, that's probably a good deal. So we figured out our balance and what works for us. On the addiction side of things, I can say otherwise from you. I was addicted to alcohol. I was addicted to an escape. I needed an escape. I felt like I needed this escape, and I needed something to, but black out my mind and go to another, because I was so overwhelmed and I wasn't prepared. I wasn't mature. I wasn't mentally mature enough to carry the load that I was carrying because I wasn't taking care of myself mentally and physically. And I wasn't mature enough at the time to do something about it and just go grab a bottle and drink. So I
Do you think that was during bar ownership?
Absolutely.
So what was what do you think was your turning point? Was it an overnight thing? Was
7
it
a.m. shift.
Okay. Yeah.
Now I still will say, whenever I did go to the 7 a.m. shift, I did still have my drinking problem, because, you have your afternoons. And so what am I going to do? I'm not going to go home and do laundry. I'm going to go have a drink.
Stop at the bar on the way home.
Exactly. I'm going to go stop at the bar on the way home. So that's what I did. But you have a life and you have shit to do. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But you're 30 years old. There's a time that you got to get it together, and you really have I don't know, I think I was maybe driving in my car and I was just like, Bailey, girl, it's time.
Yeah.
Let's get it together.
Yeah.
Let's really lock down and get it together, because do you want to, dive in and build into your future and have that generational wealth and really love what you're doing? Because you're not allowing yourself to love what you're doing, because you're hindering yourself every single day with something that is so immature. So I will say, because I did get in trouble with alcohol, I've had the DWI. I've had problems to say no to it. There were days where I didn't want to drink and I drank. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And you have to admit that to yourself, and you have to make a change. If you want anything positive to come out of your life, alcohol is a poison. If you can't say no to it, is a absolute poison and will drown you. I mean, there are people who have lost their lives over alcohol, not just dying, but lose their family, wives, children, houses, mortgages. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It is so much cheaper. If you can't meet it head on and correct it, it's going to affect you in worse ways than you think.
Yeah. I think we're pretty blessed, because with the 4 of us, none of us are at a point right now where we have a problem, but we see it in this industry a lot. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Like, if you're owning a bar, you have access to alcohol at all times. And it's not like you don't if you don't own a bar, but it's being around it in your everyday life from morning till sleep is a really hard thing if you're an alcoholic.
Yes.
And like, I think my biggest piece of advice would be don't get into this business if you have a problem with alcohol.
Absolutely. And that was another problem with me is we allowed people to drink behind the bar whenever I was bartending at Mad Hatter. And to be honest with you, before I was bartending, I didn't really drink. I didn't really go out. Then I started bartending, and then you have these friends that come in and see you, and you're allowed to drink behind the bar. So then you start taking these shots, and then you work 5 and 6 days a week. So you're drinking every day. So that's the fun thing. And then you go out and visit your friends. And I'm not saying bartending is what caused my addiction, but in all reality, I wasn't at the capacity and the age and the maturity to realize what I was snowballing in all reality.
Yeah.
So,
And I think touching on, we used to let people drink.
That got me.
Just a side note, we don't let people drink in the bars
Not
anymore, which has helped immensely. I mean, and I recommend it to anybody that owns bars. Just don't let them drink on their shift.
yeah.
Well, I mean, we've seen literally, ER doctors that live next door in the condos at Montgomery Plaza, driving BMWs, Jaguars, $200,000 cars, have beautiful families, wife, kid, the whole thing. Kids go to private school, and then they're borrowing money from the bartenders who pay a $10 tab because they're living at home with their mom and they're damn near 60 years old. We've had the ones that have taken their lives, because it has just dominated their entire existence, and addiction's a very real part of it. And that doesn't just come with the bar industry, because like I said, I'm telling you about doctors and lawyers and real high-end professional people that we see in the bar on sometimes daily, sometimes multiple times a day. School teachers, we've had school teachers that have lost their jobs because they would stop by and have drinks before work and then smell like alcohol and get called out for it and have lost their teaching license for it. We have had business professionals on all ends. So it's not just an addiction for bar owners or bartenders or bar managers. It is a real addiction for anyone in any profession that has any sort of super high stressful jobs, or like Bailey mentioned a second ago, too much time on their hands. So those are, hard realities for a lot of people to face. And yes, there are other ways to deal with it, but unfortunately, a lot of times we see them in our bars, and we try our best to notice that, manage that, and make sure that we're not contributing too much to that. So
we've turned people away.
We definitely
because
do.
we knew that they were slowly dying.
Yeah, they'll drink themselves to death. So
some won't even give you signs.
So those are a couple of hard topics that we wanted to discuss, because it is a little bit off of, the learning entrepreneur stuff that we're normally talking about. But these are these are some hard topics that we talk about in meetings and things like that, and things that we actually deal with. We deal with lawsuits. We've dealt with divorce. We've dealt with addiction. We've literally, as of just 2 days ago, dealt with, having to fire a friend. And I think hopefully now we've learned that is, something that we're not going to do again. But I hope that this episode does give people a glimpse into what it is to actually own and run businesses and to have their friends want to work for them, and the repercussions that you can have from that, the repercussions that your personal life and the marriage and kids and things like that not only addiction can have, but a strong, almost an overbearing work ethic that can strain a marriage, can strain a relationship to the point that it breaks. And it's a sad, harsh reality of what it is to be an entrepreneur. Again, I don't ever, hate on anybody that's got that 9 to 5 that goes to work every single day. They know what time they got to be there. They know what time their lunch break is. They know what time they got to be back from lunch. They know if their project isn't done at 5 o'clock, they get to clock out, they get to go home, and the project will be there at 9 a.m. for them to finish up the next day. Sure, there's deadlines in 9 to 5 businesses, but it's not one of those things where you're getting phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning because a car ran through your building, or you've got a fight in your bar, or an employee did this, and an employee was drunk, or any of those things that we deal with as bar owners and entrepreneurs. And so it's a lot to put up with. We put up with a lot, and those are a couple of the hard conversations that were hard for us to find on YouTube that people actually discuss. And so we do want to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, this is just one of those episodes. It's a glimpse into not the prettiest part of entrepreneurship, especially in our line of work.
For sure.
So, well, guys, wrapping it up.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Well, thanks for listening. This is another episode brought to you by M4D Concepts. We hope to tune in next time. Like, follow along, and stay tuned.
Bye, guys.